where his optimism for Eureka comes from, and so we invited him to speak, and this is kind of an inaugural speech for him. So told him that there'd be questions, time for questions afterwards, and that everybody's so curious they'll probably want to know lots more about what he's doing. So Jason, you can take it from there. And a little bit about your history, of course.
Thank you, Mary, for inviting me here today, and thanks everybody for showing up. Hear what I want to say. Well, I came to Humboldt. Started my dad. He owned he purchased a property down South Humboldt that have 15 cabins in there, 17 acres, and that's how I started coming Humboldt, because my dad wanted me to run that business down there, and that's how I discovered the area. So afterwards I started to wanted to open a surplus, which is a military surplus. At the time, I'm in the history unit, which is a military heritage command. Where what we do is preserve military museum. And at the time we are moving to Long Beach, one of the armories down there, and we didn't have enough funds. So I was thinking of an idea of getting military equipment and sell it and make that money and donate to the units. So that's how we have the money for our funds. So that's what I came up with, is start doing a military Humvees and restore them. And I figured out that people around here would love Humvees because they use a lot of 4x4 on the mountains and on the roads. So that's how I started. And then I found Eureka Ice and Storage. While I'm looking through the properties, looking for a place to rent, I found Eureka Ice and Storage. And I'm like, well, it was just a beautiful place, and so much opportunities for it. And then that's how I get into it. And I was get approached by the cities that turned into an ice house, and I was interested to do that, and did research, continue to do research, but too bad it was burned down recently. It's very sad after what happens, and then I continue to looking for a place again to do my surplus again, and here I am, found the post office courthouse downtown, and I'm like, wow, this is American history. This is something that somebody dream can have, can preserve this kind of history. So that's I decided to purchase the building. Right now is currently on pressure wash right now. The building is getting washed, and we'll get window painted and try to preserve the buildings and maybe do some history inside a post office, which is like a hall of fame. So that's going to happen there, and.
Did you already talk about what brought you to Hong Kong?
Yes.
About the cabins?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Sorry. I guess I was shutting the door. Sorry.
So yeah, so that's brought me here, and this is a very rich history area. Eureka is a very unique, and I see the growth and the population. The population has been growth a lot in the past years, and there's so many opportunities for businesses, for growth, because the population is growing. A lot of foreign people coming in, a lot of tourists coming in. This place is going to be a big for tourists. So I'm looking at the futures of Humboldt County. It's going to be a lot of tourists. So that's what the future is going to be, that we need those money from outsiders to come in for us to generate more money in our communities. Instead of our money is circling around. So that's what I like to concentrate in is tourism. So my next future plans is I will own hotels. I'll start purchasing hotels, and I will start purchase lands and big developments. That's what I want to do in Home County. That's a little bit of myself. That's what brought me into Home County, and that's what brought me here. I'm a little bit about myself, about my history, my personal history. My father and I were the last immigrants in U.S., which is in 1989. My family left. I'm from Vietnam, South Vietnam originally. My family left the countries right after the war. We're from the South. We lost the war. We moved to the U.S. and my dad is the only one to stay back because at the times he had to stay back because the communists didn't think that we're gonna leave. So that's the day that my dad married to my mom. Actually, it's the day that my family left. They have a wedding, so everybody can live, and that's why I'm alive. And my grandfather was an officer. He's a regiment commander in the 5th Airborne 5th Brigade. And so that's why I'm in that's why I'm in the reserve, because of my grandpa, and I always looking back at history, and I like to preserve, and I like to continue, and that's why I'm in there. And so I started business when I was 19. That's when I started my first business, is Internet Cafe, which is back in the days that they have computers, that people don't really have computers at home. Computers are so expensive, and I get the idea from Europe. So in Europe, like Starbucks, similars, they have a coffee shop, and they have computers that inside the coffee shop. So that's how people come there and use the computers. And I got the idea from there, so I got some money saved up and some loans from families, and I started off the business, and it was doing really well for me. But the internet business is growing very fast. Every 6 months they're going to change. Every new technology is coming out. Technology is growing very fast, so I cannot keep up with it. And I started working as I did a job at nighttime doing delivery, and that's how I got into a courier service. That's how I got into that industry, and then slowly became supervisor, manager, and I started my trucking companies after that. So and then after that, I started different businesses after that. Restaurant, hardware, supplies, and now here I am starting all this new business here. So that's how I started with my little history. You guys have any questions for me?
Sometimes locals can be blinded. We don't see things. It really helps us to see our own area through new eyes, fresh eyes, where you see things that we are just so numb to. So it's good to see you come up here and see the potential we have, and see that that's what we're looking for, is people with fresh eyes, with fresh concepts. So any ideas you have about new businesses or opportunities that we're blinded to, that would really help the whole county.
Yes, Marion was mentioning about getting an international port here. I think it was a very good idea. It's tough, it's a big thing. But international port will bring a lot of business into the city. We'll bring a lot of manufacturers, new manufacturers. We'll bring a lot more from outside coming in. Like I mentioned earlier, that's what we need. We need monies from outside to bring in to us instead of our money going out there. So we need a trade that from outside bringing in. So that's going to be a very good idea. And like I mentioned earlier too, tourists. Tourists is a very strong, like Europeans. They live off tourists. They don't have much business over there. Outside the cities, it's nothing much. I mean, when you're in the cities, everybody all power up. But after the city, it's all farming, it's all empties out there. So why? Because of tourists. They have so much money of tourists coming in. That's why they have that kind of the funding for the peoples. So I think that will be the main things of development is tourists and the harbor. The harbor is a big thing. That's what we have here. We have the harbor here, the railroad. I mean, I'm into the trucking industry. In 2008, my business was going down because of the fuel went up so much, and we had to charge more when the fuel is going up, and the customer don't want to pay as much, so they start bringing their freight to the railroad. You know, I'm like, yeah, this is bad for my business that the railroad took a lot of my business, but it's good for the peoples that they cost less for the fuel and more timing, but cost less to the railroad. And if it's already here, you know, we can make that happen. You know, that's will be the great things to do.
You want to talk about your, locating near the railroad, or is that any part of your vision?
Well, I haven't thought about the that's not Pacific, yes. Well, with that, because I haven't doing any study on it.
Was your first involvement with Humboldt County, Southern Humboldt?
Yes, with Southern Humboldt. Like I mentioned earlier, my dad purchased a properties down there with 15 cabins, and then I went in there as, I went there like I'm like a chef in town, pretty much. I run the town, I manage the town, and I run into a lot of problems, and then, I have a lot of supporters in town today. So, because I tried to get rid of a lot of bad people around town.
Your father was living where when he found that property?
He lived in Orange County.
The reason he was interested in Humboldt County property was it was a good buy?
Yes, it was good buy. He had friends, and his friend is an engineer, and he friends the one that brought him to the properties, and that's when he bought it.
And then he handed it off to you.
Yes, he handed it off to me because he thinks that I could handle it. That's why, and which is I did, and he's proud of me. And things is I mean, I always say it's only take times and money. That's what it is. So times and investment of money to make the area better. So our plans is to turn the place to a more of the resorts, like a cabin vacation resort. My plans is to have in Airstream. I'm start buying the old Airstream and restore the old Airstream and rent it out to campers, and then and the cabins, of course. So that's my goal of the area.
More of a resort?
Yes, more of the resort and for travelers to come in, because it's right on the redwoods and right next to the rivers. It's great for it. Yes.
What are your plans for the post office?
My the post office, my plan right now is to find, I see in the past, they just let anybody lease the place. But the post office is more for professional. We have to pick every single person at least in that place, because we have to protect the post office. That's the first thing we need to do. The second is we have to pick the right person with professional business in there. It's not for the money. We just don't rent out to anybody. So that's what we slowly changing to.
So where is your location exactly besides south?
I'm sorry.
Are you in Eureka, south of Eureka, Redway? What's your location?
My location of
Yeah.
Where's Miranda?
Oh, you're
the
in
cabins.
Miranda.
Yes,
Okay.
the location of the cabins in Miranda.
Oh, okay. You're in Miranda. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And then you were mentioning, we had a visit with him just to get to know him better. You were saying that you plan to use part of the building for your offices.
Yes. I was about to. Part of the building's on top, third floor for my offices. I'm going to have an office in there, my office, my conference room, and of course, office for my associate. And on second floor, my plans is to have it more like a law firm or a something like that, a law firm or some real estate company to be in there. Someone, and then the rest of the office will be more professional. That's my plan there.
And are you running, at this point, are you still doing the surplus type business? Will you still be doing that up here, or?
Yeah, well, I still do a low, not like as beginning and how I plan to be, because things are changing. I don't have all the time for everything. So I have to eliminate my business to certain things I could do and certain things I couldn't do. So I'm eliminating right now. So I slow down on that one, and I still do it low by low, but not as big as mentioned will be.
Not how you started out with the
Yes,
focus.
yes, because I need my focus to other things.
Other things, yeah.
In the beginning, you talked about the ice storage facility. Were you looking into that land or doing something with that, or?
Yes, at the beginning, I was, like I say, I was looking for a surplus to have a building that I can do my surplus, I can do my shop there, and while I'm looking to all real estate, Nally Hills is one that sent me all the listing, and I go through it, all the commercial properties, and that's how I found the Axe House. And in business, you sometimes you want to do some things, but other things will lead you. So that's how it's always been, and you just follow the flow.
So what I'm understanding then, right now your development is at the post office at 5th and H.
Yes, yes.
Do you want to tell a little bit? I found it very interesting about the history that you had researched of the builder and the construction techniques.
In the post office?
Yeah.
Yes. I was into difficulties when I bought the post office because it's unreinforcement, and it was a hard decision. So I started doing research, and I was looking at all the post office of the courthouse when it's built, because it was built by James Taylor's, and so I was looking at all the post office and courthouse that he built. So let's see how was it, and I find out that in 1906 there's a major earthquake going on in San Francisco, and at the time James Taylor's was building that post office also, and it was collapsed. Part of it was collapsed in San Francisco. So we have to remodel the post office and courthouse in San Francisco. In the meantime, he's building the post office courthouse in Eureka in Santa Rosa in 1910. So he will with my story, he learned the lessons of having earthquake in 1906, that major earthquake. So 1909, 3 years later, and plus remodel the post office courthouse in San Francisco, he had to build a structure a lot better, because he had to prevent something like that happening again, because it just happened 2 years ago. So that's why I'm pretty things in my head that this is going to be good. So I hired a inspector, which is we go around, we scan all the metals around the buildings. And it seems like we have a lot of good beams of metals inside the building, so it's pretty solid. And that's why it's lasting until today. Nothing really wrong with that building. So it's very solid. He's a good architect. Yes, sir.
So the attraction for the waterfront was because of the potential for visitors. That was kind of like a destination place for your use of the building.
Yes, for the waterfront, I mean, my plan in the beginnings, after the fire was occurred, was to turn the place into a fish market, and on top will be a restaurant, like a steam. So what they do is like a steamed seafood. They I took the idea of Redondo Beach. So at Redondo Beach, my family and I sometimes go out there to have some fresh seafood, and what they do is they have a fish market and they steam the seafood. You can pick your crab, your fish, and then they steam it and eat by hand. And it's like a newspaper, you put it out and you just eat by hands. And I think that would be a great attraction for tourists and locals to hang out with the families, go out and eat some live seafood of the locals. Because I win locals around here for restaurant, and I don't really find any fresh seafood that locally here. So I was kind of surprised that we don't have that here. And that was my idea, but I'm running to the Coastal Commission, of course. And in that waterfront, I cannot do whatever I want to do, because the Coastal Commission is involved. So currently, it's on hold right now. What to do in that place? So it's on hold right now.
What would you do for uses next to you? If you had the property and the control of the uses next to you, what would you like to see there to support your thing?
Well, as right now, the city is really doing good by how they're making that waterfront center. That one helps a lot. Tourists coming in there, and they have boat rides in the area. They're doing the sidewalk. They're doing the sidewalk, which is really good. And then they were talking about doing a dock also. So that's will help. That all those will help because I'm looking at Eureka. This is more like a tourist place. You know, we need to draw attention, attraction for people come in. And then in downtown, they're doing good right now. I saw the Old Town, all the horse ride and all the stores that they have in Old Town. That's what people want to see. I mean, out there, they're coming in, they want to see something special, something they don't see every day. Like me living in the cities, all the things I see is normal. When I come here, it's not normal, it's different, and I enjoy being here because how different it is.
How do you feel about the tourist train around the bay?
That would be a very good idea. Tourism around the bay will be. We have a very nice bay here. We have we just don't have enough attraction in the area. We have a very nice bay. We have a very nice city. Have a very nice historical area. Just that we need more attraction for tourists to come in. We like in San Francisco. As you can see that tourists come from all over the world to go to San Francisco, and so where they go after the San Francisco, they will go to Napa Valley for the wine. After tourists travel to San Francisco, they go to Napa Valley, and then what's next after Napa Valley? There's only few know about Humboldt County. So that's why we need to explore it out more out there, having like one-on-one magazine in San Francisco, so people will know more about us here. So people will start traveling here, because a lot of people would like to see the redwoods, and a lot of people would like to see the bay. So I think that's what we need to reach out there for more tourists to come in here.
questions? Got some time.
What do you think about the tourist train actually being part of just everyday public transportation that happens to tourists and get on as well?
He's saying, he's asking if the train could also become a public transportation, part of public transit, as well as for tourists.
That way, if tourists come, they can just have fun, but it would make public transportation that much more efficient.
Yes, that would be great. It could be more for public transportation and tourists, because if you're just hitting on tourists only, I mean, you're going to have it anyways, right? So you might as well make the use out of it, yes. Like in every other place, like big attraction, they have the big bus.
And where?
In the like the tourist place, they always have like big bus in over like San Francisco, Europe, and all big tourist attraction. They have trains, they have big bus that go around the cities.
All these are half, tourists, half public transport.
Yes.
Something like that,
Public transport and tourism will be a very great idea for it, because people need to travel too. Let's say we need to go from here to there, and then now we want to do the train. So I mean,
Just the people walking from Eureka to like Samoa, it's dangerous, It's like, I don't know, like, just in that way, if they don't have a car,
yes,
they don't have to be necessarily like, just completely like on the streets or anything, but just people that do not have a vehicle that want to get to the Samoa and Manila, I think that would just make it that much safer. If you have a route doing that, I mean, who wouldn't want to see it? It's smooth.
yes.
It's just dangerous to walk across.
It is. It will be better if we have like a bike route.
Yeah, no, it's like this much of a bike ride. I'm terrified that somebody's going to like just run into my car while crossing it.
And then also what I see in the cities in Eureka, actually it's kind of a lot of place right now, but we have a lot of homelessness in the area, and it's scaring the tourists. It's scaring the tourists is when they come in and say, I bring my families in the area. If I see all the homeless there, I'll be afraid to take my kids out or my family out. So and then what happened to the ice house too is I just have a lot more feeling in that area, and as I talked to Steve that I will do some donation to the homeless and to the fire department, to help them out, and with the I'm sorry.
Putting my hand up for next question.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay. You didn't touch on one thing that is relevant in Humboldt County, and I used to be the executive director of an organization called California Campus Voice Humboldt. And whenever we brought people up here to Humboldt County, Gavin Newsom, senators, Board of Equalization, all the major players in politics in California, what they came up here for and what they wanted to see was a cannabis farm. And so we took them to cannabis farms. And that's what they didn't care about the redwoods, they didn't care about Eureka or its infrastructure, they cared about what was going on in the hills, because we are the biggest cannabis producers by volume, population-wise, in California. You didn't touch on that, but I also wanted to touch, I'm also on the North Coast Railroad Authority, and so I'm the director on that. As far as an excursion train, that would be an absolutely wonderful value-added thing to go around Humboldt Bay. I live in Samoa, it would be great for transportation hub, but we have no way out of the peninsula right now. But as far as that goes, the county doesn't have any plans on linking up any portion of the rail between Breakcut and Eureka until probably at least 2025. That's a long ways away. And hopefully we can start working on that now, because if that's going to happen, or we do get an excursion train from Samoa to Scotia, we're going to need a lot of pushing forward on that.
Yes.
As far as the homeless and the tourists, they kind of go together in a way. They don't go together, but there's kind of the dynamic there. And just from my novice observation. I've been going to Texas City area this summer, and it's like a theme park. There's so full of tourists on the Crescent City is just jam-packed, overflowing. I come back down here, and we have our standard tourists, but nothing like what's going on in Crescent City, and I believe it's because of the homeless problem. People are staying away.
Yes.
And it just feels that way to me. It's like, just because you get the Brookings and Crescent City, and it's just, you know, jam-packed, every restaurant's jam-packed, every motel's jam-packed. And I think until we get a handle on what's causing this, and part of the problem is what Richard said, is the politicians care about cannabis. That's what they're focusing on. Tourists don't care. Tourists don't want the homelessness and cannabis. They're at Crescent City, out in seafood restaurants. We do tourism until we get it kind of come back to the center on all of this. We still have problems.
Yes. Well, how I feel about the homeless in town is we've been actually Humboldt County. We've been helping a lot of homeless. We help the homeless out a lot by creating giving food. We provide them a lot of, we provide them food, we provide them shelters, and I don't. To me, how I see it is the right way for them is to give medical cares like psychology. So those homeless they became homeless for a reason. They could be someone like us, and something bad happened to them in their life. A big stress happened in the family, so they out of it. So they became going out there and became homeless. And a lot of them need medical attention more than giving them food and saying, hey, come here, I feed you and come back tomorrow. That's not going to help them. It's just like, teaching the man how to fish, than giving the man the fish to eat. So I think that's, I would do donation to the homeless, but I'm hoping that my money will go forward that way, because and like I say, I will continue to do donation to the community to help a better community here. And that's how I think about the homeless. How we need to help them is it's more of psychology, and help them as to become out of it. So if they have a stress order, they have a problem they had, solve their problems, so they can and then put them with the agency, a job agency, and let them start working, because we need workers in this town. We don't have enough.
Shelter first though, and it's underestimated how much there is in the homeless population compared to how much beds there is. So it's like people have this ideal about like, oh, have you been to like any of like the shelters? Check them out yourself or see what they get at like the free meals. It's not much. They're starving for protein. Most of them, they're falling into. I work with Messi just recently, like a lot, but I